Welcome to In Her Voice, a podcast created for women who listen to and live by their deepest wisdom, their inner voice. This was made for you, the woman who feels pulled to more, to lead, to create, to dream, and to be a world changer. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am an inner voice coach. Join me here each week as we explore what it means to reach for your inspired potential, all while honoring your worthiness each and every day. Hi, you guys. This is Kelly, and you are listening to In Her Voice. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for inviting me into your space, into your heart. It really, really means a lot to me. And if I don't say that to you enough, I apologize. But I am so grateful to you for being here, for listening, for understanding that you were made for something great and that you have the power right within you to make that happen. Today, I have a fun topic, and that is all about your sounding board. So obviously, I want you to listen to your inner voice. That is what I do. That is what I help people do. I'm an inner voice coach, and I want you to be connecting with your inner voice on the daily. That sounded funny, but on the reg. I should not try to use slang like that because it sounds ridiculous. I want you to do it every day. And the challenge with that is that we got a lot of voices going on, right? Can I get an amen? There's our lovely inner mean girl voice. You might have one or more of that. You have your inner voice, which is the most powerful voice that you have, but can often be the voice that is hardest to hear because of all of the other noise. We have the voices of all of the things outside of us externally that are telling us what we should look like and what we should do and what's important, what's not important, what foods we should eat, what we should not eat, all of the things. It can be a lot. And so in your practice of listening to your inner voice, I have found that one of the most important tools that people can have is a sounding board. And probably all of you have a sounding board already. You just probably don't think of it like that. But basically what your sounding board is, it is a few people, one or two, maybe three people that you feel that you are close to, that you feel you can trust, that will reflect back to you what your inner voice is saying. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky because if it's someone that's really close to you, maybe it's a spouse or maybe it's a best friend or a family member, right? Sometimes those people, using those people as sounding boards is always a good thing, but oftentimes they see things through a lens of loving you deeply and wanting what's best for you without knowing what is best for you. Because only you know what is best for you. Only you have access to your inner voice. No one else does. And so you have to make sure that when you are using your sounding board to listen to what your inner voice is saying, that you're really just listening to your inner voice. And so I like to think of it sort of as a projection, right? So, or maybe even a better word is a reflection. Sometimes you just need people to reflect back to you what you are saying. Because when you hear that said back to you, for example, I'll give you an example. Say you've been doing some dreaming. We talked a couple weeks ago about giving yourself permission to dream. And say that you have had this dream to create a community where people in your neighborhood can come together and do yoga together for free. This is I totally just made that up in my head, by the way. But that's what you feel like your inner voice is telling you to create. So maybe you go to your sounding board, your best friend, who happens to live in your community, and you say, I've really been feeling like I'm getting this urge, like this deep push to create some sort of community space where people can come do yoga for free. And like, gosh, I'm feeling like really excited about it, but also kind of scared. And I just wanted to see what you thought about that. So it can go one of two ways. Maybe your friend says to you, wow, that's amazing. That makes me so excited just thinking about like creating this space where people can come for free. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what you do with that. And when that is reflected back to you, it makes you feel a certain way. Either it makes you feel like, yeah, I got this. This is real. This is right. Like you feel that feeling of confirmation inside of you. Or maybe when it's reflected back, you're like, oh yeah, I don't know now. Maybe I'm not so excited about this. Maybe that was coming from a different place inside of me. Your body knows, right? Like your body can tell. So that's one example. And I love that example of someone truly reflecting back to you what they heard you say. Here's another example. You say the same thing to a different friend who lives in your community, and maybe she says back to you, that's really interesting. How would you pay for that? I mean, like how are you going to just give yoga away for free? I mean, how does that even work? And she might start diving into all of the problems of that dream or all of the roadblocks into that dream. And this scenario is a little bit different, right? Because, and I'm not saying that kind of feedback is not valuable, but when we're talking about really understanding what our inner voice is saying to us, we're not looking for someone to find all of the problems in that. That will come. There will be a time once we've made the decision to go after our dream that then we sort of work around those roadblocks. But at the beginning of it is not the right time for that. And so what has happened in this situation with this particular person on your sounding board is they haven't reflected back to you your dream. They have taken on that dream themselves and seen all the problems in it. And probably the reason why they feel that way is because it's not their dream. It's not what their inner voice is saying. So they're not going to feel the same way about it. And they're not going to be able to reflect that back to you. And so they've had their own stuff get in the way of being able to reflect back to you what your inner voice is saying. So these are two different kinds of examples of how a sounding board can work well and how a sounding board cannot work well. So what does this mean for you when you're trying to build your board, your sounding board, so to speak? You have to find people who can truly be reflective of what you're saying, not the problem solvers, not the naysayers, and not even the people who are, like gung-ho about everything that you say. That's not even really necessary. If someone can just say back to you exactly what they've heard, then that is going to be a revelation to you. When you hear it coming back to you, it sits on you in different ways than just like if it's been in your head. And so this is a big part of what I do as an inner voice coach. And I love being able to do this for people because sometimes you need a more objective person. When you come to me as a client and I am your coach, of course I love you and of course I care about you, but I don't have all of the baggage of being your friend for the past 20 years. Not that that's baggage, that sounded wrong, but I don't have any preconceived notions of who you are and of who you can be and who you can't be. And people who have been in your life for a really long time have that. And sometimes that's hard to lay aside. And so when you come to me to work with as your inner voice coach, what I do a lot of is reflective listening. I listen to what you are saying and I say it back to you. And sometimes I say it back in the same way. And sometimes I say what I'm actually hearing, because what I also hear when you say is I also hear the things that you're not saying. The fear, the danger, the feeling like I don't know if I'm enough to do this. And I'll let you know that I hear those things too. And sometimes in that back and forth, you start to hear more clearly your own inner voice. You start to understand what it is that you need to ask of yourself to get the right answers. I am not here as your coach to give you the answers. I'm here to guide you to your own answers. You can answer all of the questions that you have. But sometimes that takes work. It takes practice. It takes looking at things in a different way. It takes reframing things. It takes trying things on for size to see how they feel. And that's what I do as your coach. So, do you need an inner voice coach as a sounding board? No, you don't. But if you feel like you need that objective view, if you feel like you want that intuitive piece that I'm bringing to the table with you, maybe inner voice coaching is for you. And so I just want to encourage you to think about that. Do you have a sounding board? Do you have people in your life that can listen and reflect back what you are truly saying? Because when you have that, that is invaluable. Because here's the thing, you guys, we don't have to do it all on our own. That is not required. You're allowed to ask for help. You're allowed to have support if you give yourself permission for that. So maybe give yourself permission to see what it's like, to ask the questions, to wonder, to be curious. And if you're curious, I would love to chat with you. Sign yourself up for a free discovery call, kellycovert.com/discovery. We can connect. We can talk about what it's like to have an inner voice coach. We can talk about the different packages that I have and see what would work inside of your budget. And we can talk about why it is valuable to you to listen deeply and to learn how to listen deeply to your inner voice. And that is what inner voice coaching is all about. I cannot wait to talk to you. Let me know who is on your sounding board. Let me know if you appreciate having a sounding board. Does this make sense to you? Tag me in over at Instagram at Kelly J. Covert. Let me know your thoughts. I want to talk more about your sounding board. Let's talk. kellycovert.com/discovery. I can't wait. I was writing in my journal this morning and I kind of got stuck, like I was like, I don't know what to write now. And whenever I come to that point in my journaling, I always write down the question, what do I need to hear right now? And almost always my inner voice says to me the same things. You are enough. You matter. And you are worthy.